November 7th, 1775. Virginia was in a state of open rebellion. Governor John Murray, Earl of Dunmore, drafted a proclamation of martial law throughout the colony. Everyone capable of fighting was to rally to the royal standard or be considered traitors. To everyone who was enslaved by a rebel, he made an offer. They would aid him in quelling the uprising, and in return, he would grant them their freedom. The idea of emancipation had occurred to Dunmore as early as April 1775, when he told a Williamsburg resident that if he set up the royal standard, everyone who was enslaved would side with him. 2 months later, the House of Burgesses delivered an address to Dunmore which referred to the plan as, quote, most diabolical. At the beginning of August, the officers of the volunteer companies in Williamsburg informed the Virginia Convention that Dunmore's ship had made off with a number of enslaved people. Near the end of October, a Norfolk resident wrote that whenever Dunmore came upon an undefended plantation, he would raid it and depart with those who had been enslaved there. On November 14th, Dunmore defeated a force of Virginia militia at Kemp's Landing, east of Norfolk. The militia were led by Colonel Joseph Hutchings, who was captured by someone he had previously enslaved. Dunmore now published the proclamation. For over a century, people enslaved in Virginia faced the prospect of being enslaved their entire lives. Now, here they were being given a chance at freedom, an opportunity which may never happen again. It is therefore unsurprising that 200 enslaved people joined him immediately, and 100 more over the following week. On December 2nd, the Continental Congress ordered the Committee for Fitting Out Armed Vessels to either capture or sink Dunmore's ships. Its president, John Hancock, wrote to General George Washington, quote, I hope such measures are taken as will speedily and effectively repel his violence and secure the peace and safety of that colony. 2 days later, Congress encouraged the denizens of Virginia to resist Dunmore, quote, to the utmost. Meanwhile, a fort had been constructed at Great Bridge, south of Norfolk. It was garrisoned by 120 people, 3/4 of whom were black. Each defender was supplied with a musket and ammunition and was under orders to use these weapons for both offense and defense. The regiment, comprised of formerly enslaved people, was designated the Ethiopian Regiment. 5 days later, the Virginia Convention published a declaration that began with a reminder that the punishment for any enslaved person who plotted insurrection was death without benefit of clergy. A pardon was promised to any who surrendered. The declaration ended with, quote, and we do further earnestly recommend it to all humane and benevolent persons in this colony to explain and make known this our offer of mercy to these unfortunate people. The convention also decreed that enslaved people captured in arms would be sold in the foreign West Indies, with the proceeds being used to purchase weapons and ammunition. Those who could not be shipped from Virginia would be returned to their enslavers, or sent to jail to await trial without a jury. The day after Christmas, Washington wrote that if Dunmore was not defeated before spring, he would become the most formidable enemy America has. His strength will increase as a snowball by rolling, unless they could convince the enslaved people that Dunmore's plan had no chance of working. With Dunmore and his followers confined to overcrowded ships, many of the Ethiopian regiment died of fever. To remedy this, Dunmore fortified a neck of land on the Elizabeth River. That position proving inadequate for defense, they relocated to Gwin Island off Virginia's Middle Peninsula, where fever continued to take its toll. Still, 6 to 8 people fleeing slavery joined Dunmore on a daily basis, and the entrenchments that were constructed on the island were guarded primarily by the Ethiopian Regiment. When the fleet sailed from the Chesapeake Bay in early August 1776, the regiment consisted of around 300 soldiers. Those that were in the healthiest state accompanied Dunmore north, with the rest going to Bermuda or St. Augustine, Florida. When issuing the proclamation, Dunmore's intent was to restore his governorship of Virginia. It was a failure in that respect, but it remains significant in American history. Over the next several years, thousands of people fled to the British in an effort to escape slavery. That all started with Dunmore's proclamation. If you like our videos, please like, subscribe, and comment below.